Hey my friends, welcome to yet another pick a card or pick a deck or whatever you want to call it. This is going to be a message on where am I on my spiritual journey, courtesy of subscriber, viewer, Bhavisha Ratia. I hope I'm saying your name correctly, my darling. But Bhavisha commented and suggested this as a subject for a pick a card reading, so here we are. As always, guys, feel free in the comments to let me know what subjects you would like to see videos or pick a card readings on. And I'm going to do my best to keep them coming, to keep as much free help as possible getting out there for everyone, because I know not everyone can afford a reading, so that's why I do these videos. So let me know in the comments what subjects you're interested in or what kind of pick a cards you'd like to see. This is going to be deck 1, deck 2, and deck 3. So go ahead, take a moment, take a look at the decks, pause if you need to, really just feel the energy, which one is really calling you, okay? You might connect with the image, or you might just connect with the feeling that you're getting. More than one deck may kind of be calling to you. That happens sometimes too. If more than one deck is calling to you, I suggest you watch in the order that they're calling to you in. Right? So maybe 3 is calling to you most, and then number 1 is calling to you kind of. Watch 3 first and then 1, because you might be going in like this little zigzag way. Sometimes that happens. I'll have timestamps in the comments of the video or in the description as well. So just go ahead and take a moment, pick your deck, and we will get started. Okay, so for those of you who chose deck 1, we're going to go ahead and jump right on in. And your first card here is a beautiful card. It's Angel of New Life. Okay? It says an exciting new chapter in your life is about to unfold. So you guys some of you have already kind of entered into this process, and some of you are on the cusp. Some of you are just about to enter it. But you may be feeling, or you may have been feeling, shifts and changes for some time. Okay, and I think a lot of you are finally getting optimistic about it. This new life is probably coming on the heels of some big disappointments, or maybe even for some of you betrayals. But you're all of a sudden in this feeling of, you know what, like, I'm feeling guided. I'm feeling like this is happening for a reason. I feel very hopeful. You're feeling in your gut. You're feeling something is changing. A part of this new life, though, one of the things I really love about this picture, the way she's just kind of coming out of this lotus flower and she's naked, it makes me think of a butterfly coming out of the cocoon, and I'll explain why. When the butterfly comes out of the cocoon, it can't fly right away. It's wet, and it needs to stay kind of hanging there, and it has to wait for the wings to dry off before it can fly off and fly away. So to me, it's like she's coming out of this lotus and she's naked. So there's some vulnerability in that. It can maybe even feel a little bit uncomfortable. I mean, think about the butterfly. You're coming out of this dark place into this bright light, and you're wet and you feel the breeze on you, and maybe it's cold. Maybe you're even shivering a little bit. But as you're out there in the light, little by little, you begin to soak up that sun. You soak up that light, and it warms you. And then you're able to take steps forward. So some of you may be in that vulnerability stage. Some of you have newly come out of your shell. Some of you maybe have even proclaimed to others that you're a light worker, or that you have intuition, or that you think that you're a healer, or that you're into crystals or tarot or whatever it might be. Some of you are just kind of like newly emerging into the world and letting others know who you are. Or like you're not hiding who you are. You're being more genuine. You're being more authentic, and you're coming into, the person you've always known that you were, as opposed to the person who, you've been taught to be, or kind of molded or shaped into being. And it can be very exciting, but it can also be a little scary, right? So a lot of you are like just now getting your wings, so to speak. Your next card here is Angel of Space Clearing. So a lot of what's happening, typically when I get this card, it's somebody who's stuck But I'm not getting that feeling with you guys. Typically when I get this card, it comes up sometimes for people who are stuck and they maybe have a little bit of a hoarding issue sometimes, and or they have a lot of junk that's accumulated and they need to physically get rid of a lot of things. They need to get organized. They need to get rid of things that they're holding on to. And maybe for some of you, you have been feeling like you want to get organized, or you have been feeling like you want to do some kind of spring cleaning. But I think for the majority of you, this Angel of Space Clearing card has to do more with your mental situation. And what I mean by that is a lot of you are beginning to open up in the third eye, okay? And a lot of you are opening up in your intuition and your gifts and your abilities. And a lot of you are seeing the way that you looked at the world differently, the way that you looked at your relationships differently. And you're clearing a lot of old self-limiting beliefs, right? Like we saw that woman coming out of the lotus flower. She's not going to be able to take steps forward until she's in the confidence. Until she's like, okay, you know what? I feel safe now. I feel confident now. I can go out there. I can step out of this little lotus flower nest, a cocoon, and I can go out into the world. So a lot of you are clearing some limiting beliefs and you're finally healing some mental blocks. I think a lot of you came from an environment or a family where you were really taught to play it safe. You were maybe taught not to trust other people. You were taught that anybody who's being nice to you has an ulterior motive, that it's a really hard world. It's like a dog-eat-dog world. It's so difficult. It's so hard. Only dishonest people are successful. Just those kinds of thinking or those kinds of mindsets maybe have been put in your mind from a young age, and you're clearing out a lot of those old beliefs or inherited family beliefs. I feel intuitively some of you come from backgrounds either it could be in terms of like ethnicity or parts of the world, or it could be more of just like your family in particular suffered this. But I feel like a lot of you are coming from backgrounds or families where there's been like trauma in terms of like war. Sorry, let's wait for this ambulance to go by. Man, that was a sign if I ever heard one. I always say if outside noise comes into the reading, it's a sign or it's a confirmation. And what I was going to say, and that goes right along with what I was about to say, I feel a lot of you come from parts of the world or come from families who have experienced the traumas of war, or unfortunately, I'm sad to say, genocide or attempts of genocide. Just anywhere where there was any kind of like people out to get other people, abuse, traumas. You could be descendants of slaves, or families that suffered slavery, which is sad to say is still happening in many parts of the world, physically, and then in other institutions it's happening more in a systematic way where it's not as obvious. But in general, I think a lot of you who chose this deck are coming out of families where they've really been held down. So they're not necessarily negative people or like, pessimistic. A lot of those beliefs of it's a hard world and only unjust people or dishonest people get ahead and things are hopeless. It's not because your parents or grandparents or ancestors who put these things out there. It's not that they were lazy. It's not that they are negative, but that's maybe what the family experienced for generations. And at some point they just said, you know what, like this is life. Like what can you do? This is how it is. But a lot of you now who are gravitating towards this deck, you're coming out of that generational block. Some people call it a generational curse, but you're coming out of that energy. You're coming out of that belief system, and you're beginning to clear any mental blocks so that you can have the mindset to kind of rewire yourself and step into this healing and prosperity. to step into better days and better times. Okay? So, your next card here is Goddess of Awakening. This is a wondrous time. This is a wondrous time of exploration, romance, and creativity. So I feel that a lot of you also, you're beginning to connect with your higher self and you're receiving inspiration. One of the things that happens when people's intuition starts picking up, and it's something I also personally have encountered, and a lot of other friends who I know who are on a spiritual path have also said the same. You become very creative all of a sudden, or you begin discovering talents you didn't know that you had. When I began connecting on my spiritual path more fully and began meditation, I discovered that I'm a pretty decent painter and that I'm a pretty decent sculptor. But I didn't know those things. I didn't grow up knowing those things. It's just something that began happening. Or poetry. Poetry, though, I've always been into since I was like an emo teenager. But you might be finding these things about yourself. Okay, and you might be finding all of these ways in which all of a sudden you're expressing yourself. And so the things that before you were shy or you would hide about yourself, you're beginning to express either through music, either through your art, or the way that you're dressing, or the conversations that you're having, and you're becoming like this shining star. You're becoming an inspiration to others, and you're coming into your light worker path in that way, because people are looking over and they're seeing you and they're saying, wow, you're really changing, or you have this positive energy about you. And a lot of you are becoming very magnetic. People are being drawn to you. People are like wanting to gravitate towards you. People that maybe have known you for a very long time but didn't show much of an interest in you, all of a sudden are stepping up to you or wanting to spend time with you. Another feeling that I'm getting with this card is a lot of you are beginning to attract romantic attention. Now, I want to give you a little bit of a warning and a little bit of a heads up, especially for those of you who are attracting romantic attention, who have not people who, if you've had a dry spell for a long time, specifically if you've had a dry spell for a long time and all of a sudden you're attracting a lot of romantic attention, I want to let you know, I feel that you're like in this phase where you're giving off a lot of loving, healing energy. So some of you are attracting some very broken people. It's not because something is wrong with you, it's that all of a sudden you've become this light. Okay, and you're probably around a lot of people in your life who are stuck, and you're getting unstuck, and all of a sudden these people see that you're getting unstuck and they're rushing at you like moths rushing towards a flame, a candle flame, right? If you put a candle in a dark room, all of a sudden the moths are going to be running to that candle. It's not that the candle is broken. It's not that there's something wrong with the candle. It's not that the candle only attracts losers. It's that the candle is a beautiful light, and those moths are so hungry for the light, they're trapped in that darkness, and they go rushing towards it. And what happens when they get to the candle? They don't know what to do with it. They don't understand what this beautiful, mesmerizing energy is, and they probably end up dying, or getting burned. And so you might have these relationships where you feel very drawn to the person and they feel very drawn to you, but they might be a little bit explosive, okay? Or these might be people who like come near you and then pull away, come near you and then pull away, because they can't handle the intensity of your light. It's not that something is wrong with you. So if you are someone who really, really just wants to have emotional intimacy and you don't want to mess with somebody if they're not stepping up with the concept of like forever or long term, you're going to have a lot of intense sexual chemistry with others. It's one of the things that happens as our chakras are opening up. So maybe let somebody prove themselves for a while before you give in to that sexual chemistry, okay? If they're doing their work, if they're doing their growth, they will be able to prove themselves and you can have the relationship. If you're more of the mindset where you're like, look, I don't really care, like I'm whatever happens, that's another subject. But for those of you who are more and the thing of like, your body is sacred, or you see sexual connection as like a gift from God or a higher power in terms of like increasing a spiritual connection with another human being. You may have very intense magnetism with others, but like I said, if you're one of those people who sees it as like an expression of connection, then maybe just don't give in to that strong desire right away, and let this person step up before you give yourself in that way. Because one more thing, and then I'm gonna move on. I don't mean to be on this card for so long, but it's very important, especially for females. When you are in this energy, this healing energy, and these people are being drawn to you because you're a light, chances are you are an energy healer and you are an empath, okay? And this is why people are trying to get at you. And if you are a woman who dates men and who has sexual contact with men, masculine energy is very powerful. It's very strong. And when you're dealing with a man who is coming towards you because he needs that light from you, or he's broken, or he's hurting, you become an addiction for him, okay? Like, he has to have you. And in that expression, in that contact, in that physical intimacy, he will drain energy from you. It's like he's tapping into you, literally, okay, and pulling energy from you. So the sexual connection will be very, very intense, extremely intense, and you might even feel like, oh my god, I'm falling in love with this person. But then he's gonna pull away because his battery filled up. You filled up his battery, and he's gonna go wandering off, and then you're gonna be energetically coded to this person. That's when you get into the situation of, oh my goodness, I can feel he's depressed, or oh my goodness, I can sense something is wrong, or he's angry, or I'm worried about him, something is happening. You begin to feel all of his stuff because energetically he's courted you, and he's sending you all his low feelings to deal with, because you're a healer, you're an empath. Then you're constantly processing his stuff for him, right? Then when his energy gets low, he comes back and he's physically intimate with you again, and he takes more of your energy. And every time he walks away, you feel this sense of longing. You feel this sense of longing because he took a part of you with him. Okay? That's why you're longing for him, not because you're in love with him, but because he keeps taking away parts of you. So you are this beautiful star. Be cautious with your light. Be cautious with your energy. Maybe do some meditation, do some prayer, and ask for guidance before you connect with somebody in a physically intimate way, especially if you're someone who has not been in that connection for a while, okay? So I'm going to move on to the next card. I'm sorry, I did not mean to go on for so long with that, but it was important to say. Your next one is Goddess of Knowledge. Start to apply what you already know. Trust your intuition. So you are going to be coming into a time of where you are teaching and inspiring other people, okay? And some of you may be doing it in very subtle ways. Some of you may be like, oh my goodness, Amethyst, there's no way. I'm not going to start a YouTube channel. I'm not going to do social media and put all my business out there. And that's fine. Some of you, on the other hand, are like, oh no, I'm already on it. Like I've already started, or I already have plans. And other ones of you are like, no way. That's fine, okay? Because your teaching, for some of you, your teaching is not going to be that obvious. For some of you, it is. Some of you are like, oh my goodness, I am so ready for people to hear me. I am so ready for people to see me. And I'm going to go out there and I'm going to be an influencer, and I'm going to be a motivational person or a spiritual teacher. Other ones of you, though, like the shyer ones of you, you're teaching by example. Okay, just by living your life and just by being in this energy, you are teaching by example, and you are bringing people into the energy of being inspired to kind of follow in your footsteps. Okay, and you will see that, and I hear that so many times for so many of my clients, my regulars, people that I've been reading for a long time, and helping with their spiritual connection. People have been coming up to them after a certain point of time and saying, oh my goodness, like I can see that you've gone through so many changes and you inspire me. And people are asking them for advice. And a lot of them are coming out of, you know, just times of stagnation or depression, or just confusion. So a lot of you, as you're intuitively, as light workers, connecting with your higher self, with your higher power, you're making that connection. You're coming into this energy and other people are being inspired by you. Okay, that happens a lot of the times. It's almost like there's this, you're remembering who you were, like I said, like this little switch went on and you said, oh my goodness, that's who I am, that's why I'm here, this is what I feel like I need to be doing. You're realizing it, and as you're stepping into that, you're educating and inspiring others through your example of the improvements that you're making in your life. Okay, for other ones of you, you're full on getting ready to be teachers and healers, and you're ready for being in the public eye. But other ones of you, it's a little bit more subtle. But you're definitely making an impact on the lives of the people in your lives. Okay, so our next card here is God of Reflection. The qualities you see in others are simply your own reflection. I love this card. I love this card. I love this message, and I'm going to explain it a little bit more fully. A lot of you are really about to step out there, step forward into your spirituality, into your spiritual gifts, into just being seen and living your life and your purpose. And I want to explain something. For some of you, your spiritual gifts you're sharing in the way of like a profession, where it might not necessarily be seen as spiritual. So like not all of you are going to be energy healers and psychics or, you know, like metaphysical people. Some of you are going to be preschool teachers. Some of you are going to be doctors. Some of you are going to be people working in some other field, you know, but just in you're making a difference in your way, and you're touching the lives of others. And as you're setting on in this path, you're looking at other people and you're comparing yourself. You might be watching people on YouTube or people on TV, or you might be seeing people or coworkers or supervisors who are a little bit ahead of you on your path, and you see them and you feel a little bit like, oh, but who am I kidding? I can't make a difference because I'm never going to be that person. They have it so together, or they're so wise, or they're this, or they're that. Everybody is a mirror. Okay, and that's one of the things you hear when you begin healing, and there's things about other people that you hate or that make you angry, and they say, oh, well, that person's just a mirror. They're showing you a reflection of something inside yourself that you haven't healed from, or something that you don't like about you. We usually hear the mirror concept in that more of a negative way, but it applies positively too. If you see somebody and you're kind of in awe of them, and you say, wow, that person is really funny, or that person's very intelligent, or that person is very loving or warm. Whatever quality you see in them, you have it within yourself. So it applies positively as well. So when you begin noticing these wonderful qualities in other people, don't take it as like something to be intimidated. Take it as an encouragement, you know, like the light in you is seeing the light in them, recognizing the light in them, and they're just kind of giving you a glimpse of where you're headed if you allow yourself to allow your own traits and characteristics to come to the surface, to just kind of bring up that energy. So you have everything you need inside of yourself. You know, some of you have felt different for a very long time. Some of you have felt like you were meant for this different purpose for a very long time. And now you're coming into this energy of like, it's time. It's time to move forward, and you can be confident of yourself. You can believe in yourself, and you know that you can be the person or the healer or the light worker that your gut has been telling you that you're meant to be. Okay? So I hope that makes sense, my darlings. We're going to move on to the next deck here. Okay, so for those of you who are drawn to this deck, I felt very called to do a shuffle, and like I felt like with this deck, a lot of you are very creative. I will say that. I feel a lot of you are creative, and a lot of you feel pulled to be in the public eye. So we're going to take a look at that. So we have keepers of the earth. You are not alone. Ancient ancestors stand beside you. Some of you are feeling like you're having visitation from spirit. Some of you are feeling like your angels or guides are reaching out to you. Okay? And some of you are feeling like you're in this energy of communication. You're feeling visitation maybe in your dreams or in your ideas. Some of you maybe are discovering some mediumship abilities. And I just want to give one little heads up about that. It's beautiful if you are wanting to explore it and to connect in that way. But you have to begin doing what I call locking your doors. So if you're having visitation from spirit, you have to make sure that you're keeping your heart and your mind clear and pure and high vibrational, so that you are attracting higher energies. Okay? And if you're wanting to do work in helping move lower energies on into the light, whatever it may be, you need to set boundaries in this. So that's another reason to lock your doors. So make sure you're saging your environment regularly. Make sure you're taking sea salt baths or sea salt showers or scrubs, regularly, and make sure that you're keeping keeping yourself in the light and setting boundaries so that you're able to sleep, you're able to get rest, so you're not developing attachments or things of that nature. But you definitely might be very connected with nature right now. You may be feeling very connected to earth energy, and you may be feeling very drawn to create when you're in nature. You might find that you're receiving a lot of ideas or inspirations when you're out for walks, or you're near trees, or you're near the water. But you're definitely connected with the earth and with the human realm, okay? And you're becoming more grounded. You're being more present in your body. Some of you maybe have been are coming out of a time of daydreaming, and all of a sudden you feel like you're waking up and you're seeing things around you very differently, where you've just come into your body and you're noticing things you didn't notice before, but it's bringing you a sense of inspiration and motivation. Your next card here is Pillar of Light. Okay, so Pillar of Light is basically letting us know that you're coming into this energy. It says your vibration is rising. You are the oracle. Okay, so you're beginning to realize and you're beginning to see that maybe you don't necessarily need mentors as much as you thought in the past. Maybe you were waiting before you began writing a book, or before you began an artistic project, or before you began doing some kind of spiritual work. You were waiting for a mentor or teacher to come in, or you were waiting so you could take a class or a workshop or a training in some way, and you're beginning to realize that intuitively you already know what needs to be done. You don't necessarily need mentoring, you know enough to get started. You have enough within you to get started. All you need to do is take the steps forward. Okay, take the steps forward. That's not to say you won't come into mentoring or training or workshops or having a teacher in the future. It simply means you have what you need to get started now. You don't have to delay anymore. The information is inside you. The guidance is inside of you. I feel a lot of you are going to begin establishing something that is going to be a foundation for you in the future spiritually. Okay, and I do feel it's something creative. Again, some of you are writing a novel. Some of you are journaling, and that journal is going to one day turn into some kind of autobiography about your life. Okay, now in saying this, don't edit yourself while you're journaling, saying, oh, I don't want that to be in a book someday. You can worry about editing and taking things out later. Right now, just speak your truth, okay? Next card here is the Age of Light. You've been training this for a lifetime. A lot of you are going to begin having epiphanies about why certain things happened in your life. A lot of you maybe are overcoming some disappointments or some unfairness, some things that don't seem quite right for you, and you're going to realize that it happened for a reason. You're going to realize why it happened. Some of you are having some past life memories coming up, which you're going to be able to clear and get out of the way so they're no longer blocking you. and you're going to feel very motivated, and it's going to give you the courage to be seen and to move forward with your ideas and your thoughts and your projects. Next, we have trust your path. If you knew you would be supported, what would you do? You're holding back. You know what you need to do. You know why you're here, but you're doubting yourself. You're waiting for some kind of confirmation. Remember, that card came up and said you don't need it. You already have what you need inside of you to get started. You are being guided onto your life path, and you're afraid to jump right now. And this card is saying you can't fail. If you're doing what you're meant to do, you can't fail. If you're living your purpose, you can't fail. A fish cannot fail at swimming. A bird cannot fail at flying. You know, it can be injured, right? But once you do the healing, and you can't fail, right? A bird can't fail at chirping, you know? So it's basically, all you need to do is be you and take the steps you're being guided to take, and you will succeed. You will succeed at whatever your purpose is. You can't fail at being you. You can't fail at being in your purpose. It comes to you naturally. Okay, so this is asking you to have the courage and to follow the guidance that you're receiving. If it's to write something, if it's to put something out there, if it's to start a YouTube channel or a social media or whatever it might be, keep in mind and realize things might not happen overnight, but that doesn't mean you're failing. Okay, it doesn't mean you're failing. So, you know, this card is asking you to realize that you're being supported on your path to fulfill your life's purpose. Next card here is Pleiades, and this has been coming up rather frequently in readings lately. Double mission, channeling, and uplifting humanity. Now, I have said this in the past. I'm not an expert on the Pleiades or the Pleiadians. What I do know is that they are said to be extraterrestrials who've come or manifested into life on Earth, or who are guiding humans into bringing healing for the planet and for humanity through creativity and technology. So that's why I said also when I was shuffling, I did feel a lot of you were creative. You may be receiving inspiration, or you may be channeling guidance. You know, you may be doing some like a children's book that's going to inspire and help your children. You may have an idea for an app or a product that's going to bring about, you know, benefiting the environment in some way. You may have an idea for something artistically, or a space that's going to bring healing to people through art. You may have some ideas with computers that are going to be helping, you know, mankind in some way, in a positive way, without people being, you know, made obsolete. You know, whatever it might be. But you are receiving guidance right now. You are channeling this information, and you are being asked to listen and to allow it. Again, I am not an expert in extraterrestrials. I know a lot of people have commented about how they connect with the Pleiadians, and I'm not covering enough about them, and I don't know what. Dude, guys, look, it's not a channel that I'm too familiar with. I connect more with the angels. That comes naturally to me. But I'm pretty sure in the near future there's going to be more people coming out and having channels and social media about Pleiades and explaining that realm. But a lot of you are connecting with it, so it's definitely worth to look into it if you were drawn to this deck. We're going to go to the next deck now. Alright guys, this is going to be deck 3. I'm hoping the camera won't cut off on me. It's been doing that. If that happens, then this will be in 2 parts, and I'll have the continuation included. So you have Truth here as your first card if you chose this deck. It says, I am lovingly honest with myself and others. So those of you who chose this deck, you're coming into your authentic self. You're beginning to wake up about who you are, and you're just very, very newly having the courage to begin to speak up and to talk about your beliefs, or to be your true authentic self with others. I feel like those of you who chose this deck, a lot of you have a very deep, deep love for traditional religion. As do I. I mean, the religion of my upbringing is very deep in my heart, but I'm also a very spiritual person, and I'm also very metaphysical. And so some of you might be in that path too, where you're in the beginning stages of trying to realize that, or reconcile those two things. Eventually, at some point, you're going to realize that it's really all the same. You know, there's one high being of love who is the most supreme being in the universe, who there is nobody above. whether you choose to call that universe or God or Allah or whatever else. There's a supreme being of love in the universe, and we are being guided towards being in that light and honoring that higher being and living in a way that brings peace and love and harmony into the world. And so a lot of you are feeling very drawn to this, and you're seeing ways in which you're wanting to make the world a better place, and you're seeing yourself in this different light. Okay, so some of you maybe even are dealing with thoughts of conversion, or you're very hungry and you're maybe studying different religions because you're trying to find a way to connect with what this high being is. Now, it is my belief, and I do not mean to push my beliefs on you. Even with my clients, I try to guide them towards what feels true to them. But at the end of the day, what I feel it is that being, that knowledge is already in your heart. There's a basic knowledge. It's already within you. You know good from bad. You know right from wrong. You know the laws of the universe. They're in our DNA. They can't be removed. Okay, so it's already within you, and you're going to begin discovering or finding what that truth is for you. You're going to begin finding and discovering that connection. Okay, and so there's going to be people around you who are, maybe they're not as awake yet, or they're lower vibrational, and they may make you feel like you're being silly. They may make you feel like you just need to like snap out of it. But you're coming into your truth, and you're coming into a deep, meaningful connection with your higher power. Especially those of you who maybe like grew up in the Bible Belt, or you grew up in like a very religious area in your country, or a very religious country. You may have had religion, like drilled in you your whole life from a young age, but you're waking up and you're finally understanding what God, higher power, universe, Allah, whatever you choose to call it, higher power, you're beginning to understand who that is. Not because of what you were told, but because of your connection, and because of your truth, and because of the ways in which you're feeling moved to do good in the world and to help others. You're coming to a deeper understanding that surpasses anything somebody read in a book and told you. Okay? You're coming into your own truth and your own connection. The next card here is boundaries. So this says, I am clear and honest with others about my expectations. So boundaries is also going to apply. Like I said, some people in your life are not going to understand these changes that you're going through. They may not be on board with you. They might think that you're being unnecessary. And so some of you are having to set boundaries with your friends or your loved ones in that way, where you're having to tell them that, look, this is like kind of my business. You said your piece. I heard you. I understand that, but you need to respect what I'm doing, and you need to just step off. You need to back off. But obviously you're going to say it in a kind way without fighting or getting into these huge or massive disagreements with them. But you're setting boundaries in this way, my friends. And in another way boundaries is going to apply is that you're becoming into a sense of independence, where you're no longer doing things for other people out of a need for them. Sometimes what happens when we're drilled with certain beliefs from a young age is we feel we have these expectations. We have these expectations where we feel like, well, if I'm a good person, people will love me. Or if I do what I'm supposed to do, I will be rewarded, right? Because a lot of the times, traditional religion, maybe it doesn't mean to put that in us, but that's the way we understand it as human beings. Sometimes humans